Currently, she's working as a freelance photographer in Chicago, Illinois. And we'll make sure that we put in the chat where you can see more of her work and connect with Alyce directly. But we're so overwhelmed, and I know you all are going to just be blown away by this rock star woman, and I can't wait for us all to see her presentation. So thank you, Alyce, for joining us.
Hello, Allison. Thank you so much for the warm welcome. That was way better than the way my bio is just simply written out. You delivered it so wonderfully. Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here and to share my work and my stories and knowledge with you all. So again, please put your questions in the Q&A and not the chat. They might get lost in the chat function. And I think I'll start my presentation. So hang on, let me share my screen with all of you. Okay, takes just a moment to connect. All right. Okay. Just got to get a few other things out of the way on the screen. Okay, perfect. So I also want to give a big thanks to Marshall and Sean for inviting me to present during your meeting. I'm thrilled to connect with all of you this evening. And greetings to Rotarians and guests. I hope everyone is staying healthy and safe. I'm super excited to share my images and stories this evening. I'm going to be jumping around a bit, but let's get started on a little journey transporting you to some of the places my Rotary career has taken me. I'll share with you some of the wonderful Rotarians and beneficiaries I've met and break down ways to take better photos for your club. Day after day, ordinary people become heroes through extraordinary and selfless actions to help their neighbors. I believe this quote exemplifies the nature of Rotarians. How fitting that a Rotary volunteer was getting ready to place this sign at the entrance of a newly built tiny homes for the homeless in Seattle, Washington. Mercer Island Club members and carpenters volunteered to build and paint the homes. These are some of the amazing places around the world I've witnessed Rotarians doing everyday actions to create positive and lasting impact. In the beginning of my career at Rotary, my first international assignment took me to Thailand and Cambodia. The Aka Training Center in northern Thailand took in children from 27 Aka Hill Tribe villages. Some were orphans, others were sent by their parents, and they learned English and Thai to help them function in mainstream Thai society. On my left in the images, Linda and Maxine taught sewing in the same room that was used as a library filled with books. Other club members from British Columbia worked on construction projects and taught English lessons while I was there. I love capturing slice of life moments such as this Rotarian connecting with kids and being a kid herself. On one of the southern islands of Thailand, I met tsunami survivor Jury. She stands on the former site of her home and rice farm fields. Her husband died in the tsunami, leaving Jury to start over and raise their two children. Rotarians and local volunteers helped build new homes for survivors like Jury. Thai Rotarians coordinated food distribution and other supplies to displaced people. This was 6 weeks after the Indian Ocean earthquake and tsunami in 2004. In Cambodia, I met landmine survivors. Many were going through rehabilitation or being fitted for new prosthetics. Ofana and her husband Peach met at the center. Ofana stepped on a landmine while collecting firewood, and Peach was a soldier when he stepped on a landmine in 1998. I've covered multiple projects in Africa. I spent time documenting young women learning the traditional art of batiking. It offered them a viable skill and the opportunity to sell their wares in local markets. Often, when girls reach puberty, they dropped out of school due to the lack of menstrual hygiene products and sex trafficking. Clubs in Niger and Germany sponsored this project. Women traveled from near and far across the desert region of Niger to receive medical checkups for themselves and their children at a Rotary-sponsored clinic. The children would also receive vaccinations, including for polio. This scene at a Rotary-funded well outside the clinic caught my eye across the way. The people at the well were observing me as much as I was observing them. It was only a brief moment of stillness until we all got back to what we were doing. But I was really glad I took a moment to look beyond the clinic activities. Otherwise, I could have easily missed this beautiful scene. In Uganda, I observed projects with local Rotarians and community liaison leadership. It's an example that prioritizes respect for community members' knowledge of what their needs are. They are able to communicate best those needs to work with partners, volunteers, and receive appropriate supplies. While in the Dominican Republic, the Bio Sand Filter Project, once again led by local Rotarians, focused on community engagement, the benefits of clean water, and the ease of maintaining in-home water filters. Sarah and Robert went around conducting home filter installations and workshops. Telling your local stories builds understanding and highlights the issues, relevance, or challenge. These are Rotarians working together to find a solution and taking action. Leonida's child was born days before she received her water filter, giving her child a better start in life by reducing illnesses from waterborne pathogens. Most of the area homes didn't have potable water. On the left, you see the issue or the challenge. The image on the right shows the impact Rotarians made in the community by providing clean water. In the Romanian countryside, Rosica milks her cows, and the men of the Spatsic family stand on the hillside of their field. They participate in the Farmers Feed the Children project, a partnership between Heifer International and the Rotary Club of Little Rock, Arkansas, and Cluj-Napoca, Romania. The farmers are given livestock and other resources in exchange for donating portions of beef, dairy, and poultry to local children's facilities. A polio survivor that works as a seamstress climbs the long and tall cement stairs of her home to the third floor rooftop. She navigates them regularly to get to her sewing room, a reminder of what polio survivors endure. Still, she is considered fortunate since she has a loving family and she hasn't been discarded to the streets. My friend and your incoming president, Jennifer Jones, shared these images during her 2017 TED Talk and Polio Now. You can find the TED Talk on YouTube. Brazilian Rotarian Gilberto, a survivor of a childhood electrical accident and an electric company manager, teaches young people the skills to become electricians. He is one of several Rotarians who developed the course and teaches the program. The tuition for the students was in part funded by a MACHI grant. Witnessing children In the city dump, scavenging for food and items to sell was a heart-wrenching experience in Nicaragua. Although this problem still exists, there is an upside thanks to Rotarians. At the Aldo de Bon School, many children over the years have received an education, school uniforms, and regular meals they wouldn't have otherwise. I first met Rotarians from District 6400 on this assignment when they were working on projects at the primary school and the vocational training center. I took this image during the same assignment in Chinandega at the vocational training center. It continues to be used on Rotary.org to exemplify supporting education. Fast forward to 2019, October 2019. I'm rarely a fan of showing group photos, but I just had to share this one because I returned to Chinandega once again by Rotarian invitation from my friends Larry and Sarah Wright. I can hardly express what it meant to me to receive such a request a month after the ending of my 15-year career as a staff photographer for Rotary International. This time, District 6400 Rotarians, Detroit volunteers, Nicaraguan Rotarians, and local volunteers came together to operate a week-long dental clinic and EMT training for students and community residents. 14 years after my first trip to Nicaragua, I felt I had come full circle in my Rotary career. It was truly amazing to see the dedication and connections continuing through this international partnership. I couldn't have asked for a better way to bookend my Rotary career. During the trip, Colleen, a dental hygienist on the team, worked tirelessly and with great patience with children and young adults that didn't have regular dental checkups. Sometimes the entire team included a reassuring mother in the room with her son who was scared to be in the dental chair. I also had a chance to revisit Aldo de Bon School. It was wonderful to see a thriving student population and the school meal program going strong. My US-based projects have taken me to places like Gainesville, Missouri to cover a mobile food pantry project. Shauna on the right, a young mother that was kind enough to let me follow her through the pantry line during a vulnerable time in her life. The project supports rural communities, rural counties in Southwest Missouri and Northern Arkansas, where many lack access to grocery stores or food banks. When floods devastated Cedar Rapids, Iowa, even Rotarians were affected, and some, like Serena Ward, lost their homes. Rotarians are so used to helping others during their time of need. It can be a challenging turn of event for those normally in service to others. Ultimately, Serena was super grateful for her Rotary network and support. One of the benefits of being a US-based photographer doing US-based projects is the accessibility I have for follow-up coverage and developing trust and lasting friendships. A Seattle-based club project, initially known as Rotary First Harvest, evolved into its own entity, Harvest Against Hunger. It illustrates the power of a club-generated idea that finds a solution to a community need. This image of my friend and executive director of Harvest Against Hunger, David Bobanek, is in the 2021 issue of Martha Stewart Living magazine. The story highlights the tremendous success they are having in reducing food waste by gleaning produce from local organic farms and distributing it at Seattle food banks. So now I'd like to switch gears a little bit. That's a little bit about me and my journey, and you'll still continue to hear more. But now I'd like to move into ways club members can tell their own stories. It starts with understanding your brand story. This is a brief overview of brand storytelling for Rotary. It touches upon elements to think about when you're creating images for any type of visual branding. Think about these elements while I show you a few more examples of ways to create brand storytelling images. Photos like these are often used in a variety of Rotary print and digital publications. I've had the presidential profile stories. Showing the global family of Rotary is another aspect of branding. I've created ads for documented polio in India multiple times, in Africa. Project images are used on social media quite a bit, and you must consider this format as well. Another example of an image magazine feature story. And a campaign
Recording in progress.
Each visual narrative supports the transform shows and connect shows two roads engaging with one another while passing a bid on a restoration project. You may notice the headline graphic, "Together we," and the verb are in the center of the image. This can be challenging in photos. Most people are used to putting the main subject or the action in the center. Assess this point and others in some of the following slides. So what makes a good photo? What makes a good brand photo? What does a photographer consider when creating brand storytelling imagery? Let's break it down for POA, People of Action, your local PR, newsletters, however you need to get your story out. First and foremost, there needs to be action. Action amongst Rotarians is key. This photo has the elements of action, connection, and teamwork. Pose group photos, handshaking shots, ribbon cutting, groundbreaking ceremonies, or holding up a giant check is not what is at the heart and soul of a brand. Those type of images have value and make nice memento images to share in a newsletter on Facebook feeds, but not really convey your brand to the world. Recognize the mood and tone of that your subjects are expressing. Here we see joy and connection. If your subjects are deep in thought or concentrating on their tasks, they may be perceived as a bit too serious. That seriousness at times may be perceived as stern by the viewer or unhappy. Look for joy and connection. And don't hesitate to interact with your subjects to get them talking to each other while volunteer. Sometimes I have someone off camera stand next to me and make light conversation with the subjects to get them to smile or laugh a bit while I'm photographing them. Or while they're doing a certain action, I might just say, hey, keep what you're doing, but look over here. You know, that's how I got the image of the young man painting in the doorway. And your composition is really important. Here are some tips. And create clean compositions. Remember to shoot from a variety of angles. Environmental portraits, they should be storytelling too. I directed her a little bit, but I photographed her from below looking up. It's especially hard when people are doing some sort of work, they're often looking down. So you have to find a way to not have a shot of the top of someone's head. The image on the right, I am cautious with photographing a downward perspective of a person. I don't want to photograph this angle if it appears to diminish a person. Representing people fairly and accurately is important to me. And close. Whether you move telephoto lens, it helps the viewer feel like they are a part of the scene, possibly giving more understanding or empathy towards the person. Leaving extra space around images. Take images that are horizontal and vertical orientation in order to maximize letters and your social media content. Consider these lighting tips when you are planning your photo shoots. It's also really important try to work in early morning light or late afternoon light right before sunset. This is often known as the golden hour. Here are ways I like to work with natural light. Early morning doorway, school hallways and hospital rooms with big windows. If your event is indoors, set up in an area that's near a big window, like an atrium or a lobby space. If the event is outdoors, try to schedule it earlier in the morning, as I mentioned before, or later in the afternoon. You'll have a higher chance of working with warm, soft lighting. Lastly, if the day is overcast, don't worry, don't stress about it. This will give you more leeway with the time of the day you can photograph, and you won't have to worry about harsh shadows of the midday sun. Most important, have fun. I hope you have fun creating your club's visual stories. If you are a curious person and you like people, you're off to a great start to being a storyteller. Remember to be kind to people you're photographing and show a genuine interest as you prepare to photograph them. Once you've gained real trust with people, they often open up and want to share themselves. This leads to more authentic visual storytelling. I can't think of a better way for club members to take ownership in telling their own unique story. I know all of you could share similar stories of relationships you've made through Rotary. You are more than just an ad campaign, but these words ring true because you are real people of action that breathe into existence, fighting hunger, transformation, connections, mentoring, and ending polio. Keep being people of action. The world needs you now more than ever. Thank you, and I hope you enjoyed this presentation.
Alyce, we've got some fantastic questions for you. And first of all, I'm just blown away.
I just want to show two more slides
sorry.
here. That's okay.
I'll shut up.
I will stop sharing when I'm done, but I just wanted to give my contact information. Here's my email, my website, and my Instagram feed. And lastly, for more resources and current guidelines for creating content for your clubs, contact the Brand Center at brandcenter.rotary.org. And that is officially it. I will stop sharing. And I will bring myself back on the screen. All of these, so many buttons to push.
So many buttons. I'm blown away. I mean, these photographs are just amazing. And we've got some really fantastic questions that were presented. So first and foremost, and I think especially when you were taking photographs of people who were, in less than desirable situations. The question is, how do you balance effective storytelling while being respectful to representing these people with dignity? Sometimes I think people feel like we rob people of their dignity when we're taking pictures of them if they're in a challenging situation. And how do we reconcile that as image takers?
That is such a big and important question. And I feel like I'm constantly trying to reconcile that and making sure I'm doing the best I can in the moment of any given situation to represent people fairly. And I think one of the unique aspects of working with Rotary is, as a photographer, I've always had a connection or a lead to people in the community because Rotary Club members are